Hey guys, so today I want to talk a little bit about the FIRE movement and what I think of it. I think the FIRE movement is one of the most logical and intelligent things that has happened in a long time. Anybody who's against the FIRE movement, and to give you an example here is, I guess a while back, Susie Orman, if you don't know who she is, she's a financial specialist, right, or influencer. Um, she did an interview and said she absolutely hates the FIRE movement. And basically it's because she's afraid of everything that's going to happen in life. Anyway, long story short, I don't know how you feel about about the FIRE movement, but I think it is one of the greatest things that's ever happened as far as I'm concerned. It is getting people on the right track financially and for their life. Financial independence is, to me, one of the most important things in life next to your health. Not that I take care of myself too well, but I think it should be the first thing taught in schools from kindergarten, for Christ's sake. Financial independence should be your first goal in life, as far as I'm concerned. The whole retire early part, that's just, as Mr. Money Mustache says, it's more of an enticement to get people into the financial independence movement. Honestly, it's all about the financial independence, because once you have that, then you can do something that's rewarding to you in your life. You have the time to do what you want rather than just work for someone else to make them money and make a living and just survive. So currently the FIRE movement is small, but growing. There's a lot of people living like out of their cars or vans or RVs, or just living frugally and saving like 50, 60, 70% of their income, which is insane. And I think that's awesome. You should live, when you first come out of school, whether it be high school, college, whatever, and if you go to college, pay for that shit up front. Work your way through college. Don't get all these loans. It's just not worth it. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. I guess if you're going to be a doctor making hundreds of thousands of dollars a year and you're on that path and you're ready, yeah, okay. But you're going to have hundreds of thousands in debt too. Anyway, I'm getting sidetracked really fast here. Basically, the current status of the FIRE movement is pretty small. Most of it's, the internet and whatnot, and there's a small community going of these. Along with that, you have the tiny home movement, right? A lot of people are trying to move into tiny homes for financial reasons. They realize they don't need all this shit that we have in our daily lives. The problem with that is the government. The government's controlling what size home you can live in, for Christ's sake. You can own your own piece of land. You own that land. And they control what you can and can't do on it. Even if you aren't hurting anyone else. Like, oh, you can't live in a tiny home on your own fucking land that you own. We determine that you have to have a house 1,200 square foot or a certain size. Right? You can't build a road to your house. There's all kinds of restrictions on owning your own land. You can't drive, off-road vehicles, four-wheelers and stuff on your own frickin' land in some areas. It's ridiculous. If you own a piece of land, you should have a right to do whatever the fuck you want on that piece of land. I don't care. I mean, you own it. The government has lost the meaning of ownership. And they just want to control everything, and it drives me nuts. Anyways, again, sidetracked. The current FIRE movement is very small, and I fully support it. I am definitely on board with the FIRE movement. I think I ran across Mr. Free at 33. It's a guy who built a dividend portfolio that he lives on, and it's continually growing actually while he's living on it. And he moved to Thailand. And that's not where I got the idea for Thailand, but it's an example of someone that's living in Thailand for very cheap and growing his dividend portfolio in the process. Mr. Money Mustache, if you haven't heard of him, he is like the father of the FIRE movement. Now, there's been people that did FIRE way earlier, before the FIRE movement ever became a thing, before the term even became a thing. And anyway, my point is it's just a smart thing to do, to buy your freedom. And that's what it really is for me. It's not financial independence, retire early, all that. That's great. But what financial independence really is freedom, right? You don't have to go to a job, wake up early every morning and go to a job and slug away all day long making some big corporation money. You wake up when you want and you decide what is important to you. Is spending time with your grandchildren important? Is spending time with your kids important? Is spending time doing your yard or gardening or playing video games? Whatever it may be. Working on a YouTube channel. Whatever it may be. That's living life on your terms and not some job's terms. And that's another subject altogether, but how a job controls you, right? So I work for a big corporation, and in essence, they control my life because I depend on the income that they provide. So I can't wake up on a Monday morning and say, hey, I'm just not going to work. I mean, I can with sick time, but that's limited, right? I can't do that every Monday. Just, I don't feel like working today. I'm not going. Can't do it. You won't have a job. You won't have an income. Whereas if I had enough invested that it was covering a roof over my head, food in my mouth, I could technically just say, I don't need that job, right? I mean, you're going to work and make money for your toys, for what you want, for the more extravagant things in life, right? For a new computer, for whatever, a car. But you don't have to work to survive. You won't be on the street. You won't be hungry, right? That's a lot more than a lot of people have in this world. I know at one point in my life, I literally had no idea where the next meal was coming from. I was married, I had a newborn child, and I had no idea how I was going to feed my family that night. And that's serious shit right there, all right? When you know that your family's hungry and you don't know how you're going to feed them. That's some serious shit. And it's even worse if you don't have a roof over your head, which luckily we did at the time. We were renting a trailer. Anyways, what's the future state of the FIRE movement? Well, I think the future state is going to be huge. I think this is going to become huge. I really do. I think buying your financial independence is going to be like a very big deal in the future. I think more people are going to catch on to this and buckle down and work for their freedom. And on that topic, let's get into the topic of work, right? What is work? Well, you go work, you make money, you come home, you spend that money, right? On your rent, your food, your cars, your computers, your toys, all the shit that you don't need, right? And you even go into debt to buy that stuff, and which keeps you trapped to going back to that job every single day to buy more toys and to pay off that debt and buy more toys and shit that you don't need, when all you really need is that roof over your head and food in your mouth, right? And people don't realize it, and they buy way too much. Like a house. Like for me, a 1-bedroom, 1-bath house would be perfectly fine for me to live in. Where are you going to find that? I don't know. But I'm kind of looking for a 1 or 2-bedroom house. Maybe I can do that instead of this whole trailer idea. But right now, the trailer idea is set. That's my plan. But if I can find a way to purchase a 1 or 2-bedroom house and get it paid off in a very short amount of time, maybe I'll do that. But the point here is people buy way too big of a house They have a bunch of rooms that they don't use, a bunch of shit that they just store in those rooms that they don't need. For what? To keep them a prisoner to a job. Why? If you want to work, work. But if you don't, don't. That's the point you need to get to. It's where you don't have to. And that's financial independence. That's buying your freedom. I mean, when you first come out of school and you're young at 18, 20 years old, yeah, you're going to have to work. And you should. You should bust your butt for at least 10 years until you're 30. At 30 to 35, you should be financially independent. You shouldn't be, $50,000 to $100,000 in debt and be tied to a job that you have to go to in order to pay that debt, and have a bunch of shit and toys that made you happy for a week, 2 weeks, a month, and now they're just things. The thing with material items is the majority of them are temporary happiness. They don't make you happy in the long term. Like when you make a purchase, so I want a brand new car. I want a freaking nice ass car. Leather seats, the fucking GPS, the fucking works, right? Which, by the way, my Civic has because I was stupid. But anyways, the point is you go out and you spend $45,000 on this brand new car, or vehicle, truck, whatever it may be. And it's amazing. You love it. It's awesome. And don't get me started with buying big trucks when you just use them to commute to work and back. Anyways, you buy this brand new vehicle and it's amazing and it's great and you're happy and you feel good. But why did you need that vehicle? Oh yeah, to get you from point A to point B. And how many people really care that you have this fancy car? How many people make a big deal out of this every day of your life and make you feel special for owning that car? Well, for the first week, people are going to be like, wow, you got money. You did awesome. Great. But you don't have money. You're either in debt for that vehicle or you just blew a bunch of money to get from point A to point B when you could have spent way less. So is their opinion really that important to you? And at that opinion's going to fade off after like a week, maybe 2. They're just going to be like, yeah, that's his car. They're not even going to think about it. There's a guy at work who, and nothing against him, he has a really fancy race car, basically. And that's his thing. That's his hobby. That's what he does. He literally goes to tracks and races it on the weekends, and then he drives as a commuter. And he just enjoys that car. And that's fine. He's got the money to do it. He's financially secure. That's what he does. And that's great. But me, right? I'm the outside of that person, right? I'm looking at him. When he first got the car, I'm like, oh, wow, that's an awesome fucking car, man. That's amazing. Good job. And then, ever since then, it's just his car. Anytime I see it, anytime I hear it drive by, there he is. It means nothing to me. He's not special because he owns that car. I don't put him on a pedestal because he owns that car. As a matter of fact, I think it's a waste of money. That's just my perspective. But to each his own, right? But to me, that's just a car. It just got him from point A to point B and gives him some fun on the weekends to go to the track. And a lot of work, and that he might enjoy doing. But did it really improve his life dramatically? If that's his special thing and that's his hobby and that's all he does and that's what he really loves, great, it probably does. And as long as he's financially secure and can do that, great. But for most people that buy a $40,000 plus car, they're really just using it to commute. Go from home to work, to the grocery store. Bring the kids around to fucking basketball games and shit. Do you really need to spend $40,000 to do that? You can do that in a freaking Honda Civic. I mean, anyways, so you're buying all this shit, right? And you're buying way too much of it. Same thing with computers. So if all you do is surf the internet and watch videos, don't go out and buy a $3,000 gaming system, right? I mean, I built my own $3,000 gaming system. And I really love this computer. Don't get me wrong. I love this computer. To me, this adds a lot to my life every single day. But I also game. I don't game a lot. I don't game like I used to when I was younger. But when I retire, I plan on gaming. I plan on gaming a lot more. So do I need this computer right now? No, probably not. It was a waste of money. I spent way too much money on the parts and putting it together. Don't get me wrong. I love it. It's a nice piece of equipment. But would something cheaper have done the issue? Hell, I have a computer in the closet right now. I have a Mac Mini sitting in there. It's not the most powerful thing in the world. But you know what? I plug it in. It works. I can surf the internet. I can do YouTube. It'll work with a webcam. I can do videos. I can upload. All the same stuff. And I paid hardly anything for that thing compared to that big ass computer. So that's the thing is we need to make these decisions. Each one of these little decisions in our life is what's holding us and is holding us back and tying us to that job that we have to go to that we may not enjoy 5 years from now. Even if you love your job right now, 5 years from now, that corporation, that company could totally change. And trust me, it happens. I've lived it, all right? Your job could go from a true love that you desire and you just love doing to a slug where you just, I don't know how to say the right words here, but it's just, it's a grind to go to work every day, do the same shit every day, all for that paycheck. So that brings me to, why are we doing it, right? What's the fire? How does all this connect? Fire movement, work, and what's it getting us, right? And frugality, living on less. There has to be a point to all this, right? So the point is, don't be the typical American. Don't go in debt unless you absolutely have to, right? Don't borrow money for a freaking car when you could save up a few $100 a month and then buy one with cash. Don't buy $3,000 computers when a $500 one will do just fine. I'm not even going to talk about the latte effect with coffee, $5 coffees a day, every day. I'm not even going there because that's small. You need to think bigger, right? The big expenses like home and food and all that. You know, eating out and doing all that good stuff. You know, you go to Burger King and you buy the double Whopper. And don't get me wrong, I love this food. I'm a fast food junkie. Double Whopper, fries, shake, all that good stuff, right? And you end up spending $11 to $15 for one meal. Fast food. Whereas you can buy off the dollar menu at Taco Bell and be full for $3 plus tax. So $3.30-40. And over time, that's going to add up. I'm getting way off track, and this is just a rant. I'm just wandering. But the main reason I wanted to create this video was about the FIRE movement and work being a means to an end. And that's what work really is. Work should be a means to an end. It should not be the usual. All right? Work should have a purpose. All right? You're not working just to pay debt that you put yourself in to buy toys that you don't need. That's the American way. Be different. Be different. Don't do this shit. If I could just get my kids to listen to this one point, work should be a means to an end. It should not be a lifetime thing. All right? Work should be a means to an end, which is financial independence. after financial independence is achieved. In other words, once your investments are paying for a roof over your head and food in your mouth. Just those two things. Oh, and utilities, all right? Basic utilities we're not talking the fastest internet and cell phones plans are unlimited and all that, all right? We're talking basic. Roof over your head, food in your mouth, electricity that's used wisely and not just blown, water, right? And gas if you need it, utilities. And maybe nowadays you consider internet a utility. I do. I don't think I could live without the internet nowadays. I mean, I could, but you know what I'm saying. I mean, you can live without electricity, but nobody wants to. So my point here is once your investments make that much, now you're free. You've bought your freedom. That should be the very first step in life, is to buy your freedom. And then just maintain that. Your investments should always be there to maintain that at a small lifestyle, all right? Not the big fancy $500,000 house or $250,000 house, not, you know, the fanciest meals eating out every day, not the fancy cars, 2 or 3 of them, you know, just a basic lifestyle should be supported from your investments. Once you reach that point, you're free. Free. That's, your time is yours to do what you want with. Are you rich? No. Do you have the ability to travel the world? No, you don't have the finances for that. But you're free at that point. Then you can go find a job that you really, truly love if you want to continue making money and building your investments to a point where you are truly retired and can travel the world or just do whatever the hell you want. And getting to the point where your finances, where your investments will pay for the roof over your head, food in your mouth, and utilities at a small level, so not an extravagant level, isn't that complicated? Isn't that hard? And if you're in your 20s or 30s, that's not going to take any time. It literally takes 10 years, guys. I swear to God, 10 years of frugality and living on nothing. 10 years is nothing. It's 1 decade of your entire life. You're going to live 7 or 8 of those probably, at least. The way the medical industry is going nowadays. But I'm just saying, you're going to live a lot of life. And 10 years of your life isn't that much. And is it really not worth doing if you're going to be locked into a job and working for 60 freaking years, for 6 of those decades, 5 to 6 of those decades? I mean, how logical is it to say, well, it's not worth sacrificing now and living on nothing, and which really isn't that big of a sacrifice if you understand what your needs really are. But anyway, I can make a whole nother video on whether it's a sacrifice or not. My point here is it really not worth sacrificing and living on practically nothing for 1 decade, for 10 years of your life, when the alternative is to be stuck working for the man or for a job for 5 or 6 decades? To me, that's a no-brainer. Right? It's a no-brainer. Of course I would rather work for 10 years than 50. Who wouldn't? So, anyways, I just wanted to bring this up. I wanted to rant a little bit, and I know I didn't have this scripted. I don't have it organized, and most of you probably stopped watching a long time ago, and that's fine. But my point is you need to look at what's really important in life. Is all the toys and the big house and the fancy car, is that worth sacrificing 30, 40, 50 years of your life working? Or would it be more prudent to live on only what you really need to for 10 years and then be free to only work at what you want to work and only do what you want to do? So that's my point, and I think the FIRE movement is a fantastic fucking movement. And I think that in the future, we're going to have a lot of millennials, and a lot, not just millennials, but a lot of people, their kids, millennials' kids, are going to be big on the FIRE movement. I don't think everybody's going to do it because the American way is not going to allow it, right? I mean, just there's so much influence from media and your friends and everything else that the majority of people will not ever do this. But I think the movement is growing. It's going to get bigger. And I think you're going to have a lot more people who are going to be financially free in the future. And I just wish my kids were going to be them. And I don't know whether they will. I'm hoping that this stuff clicks with them in their 30s. If it does, they'll be able to retire in their 40s, in their late 40s. And not necessarily retire, but be financially independent and free. You know, I'm hoping that my children will buy their freedom by the time they're 45. That's what I'm really hoping. And then they can really just enjoy life. If I could go back in time, my kids, I guarantee you, would be buying their freedom in their 20s, probably 30s. 20s or 30s. Guaranteed. Probably 30s, I guess. Be more realistic. But if I was to go back in time and raise them from children all the way up again, knowing what I know now, I don't think there's a doubt in my mind that all three of them would be financially independent in their 30s. But now that they're all adults and have their own lives and their own spending habits and all that, I don't see that happening until something clicks in their mind and something really gets in there and says, hey, I need to do something different. And that's probably going to be, hopefully, in their 30s. And hopefully not in their late 40s like me. So yeah, anyway, I'm done ranting for the day, but I hope I got some of my points across here. I don't know if I did or not, and I don't even know what I'm going to title this. I was going to title it about the FIRE movement, but it's just kind of a rant. Anyways, I'm done. It's just thoughts have been going through my head lately, especially today, as I ran some errands around and whatnot on my day off. I just wanted to, I've been thinking about this whole FIRE movement, and I knew what I thought of it originally, but just where it's going in the future and work itself and how it really should be an end. There should be a means to an end is what work really should be, and what my life would be like if I had done that originally, and what it'll be like in the future, even though I'm 49 years old already. So, yeah. Anyway, I'm done ranting. I'm wandering. I'm not going anywhere with this at this point. So, I hope you all are doing fabulous, and I will talk to you later. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. I appreciate it. Be sure to hit that subscribe button down below, and if you liked the video, hit that like button for me. If you want to hear any specific type of information, anything that you're interested in, you have any questions, just drop me a comment down below. Let me know what you think. Let me know your opinions on this video or any other video I've made. And if you know anyone else that might be interested in this video, please be sure to share it on your social media and share the knowledge. Thanks, guys.